St. Vincent's people will come to us to accept the gifts to take to the shop. That's where we hope to. Modest enough. We're not beating any big drums, but we're saying this is our small way of trying to help. Now, we have a little documentary, I was drawn to it off the back of all the trouble that one sees around last weekend. More and more bombs in Iraq and all the rest of it. But this little piece of mini documentary is simply called Beautiful World. And we bring that to you now. Dee. James Knox, what is the Men's Advisory Project?
The Men's Advisory Project is a male organisation that's geared towards providing counselling to male victims of domestic abuse.
It seems an odd thing that a man would be abused in a domestic situation. He is more normally regarded as the abuser.
Well, I think that's the public perception, that generally the male would be the perpetrator, I suppose, in domestic abuse situations. But police statistics over the last couple of years have proven that within relationships and relationship breakdowns, that 40% of those would actually be male victims.
40?
40, yeah. It's higher than people think.
Yeah, and what would the circumstance be of an incidence of male abuse? How would it work out? What happens? Or
it's actually the same as what would happen within if the female was the victim. It's actually the same types of abuse. It could be physical abuse, it could be punching, hitting, slapping. It could also be sort of financial abuse as well. So somebody gets their pay at the end of the week or the end of the month, and then that's actually taken off them by their partner, and then they're given like an allowance or whatever to live off. And that, that plays out both within male-female relationships, same-sex relationships, whatever.
Money taken off someone requires the other person to give it. Is it difficult or impossible for the other person who's the victim to say no?
Yeah, I think it would be. Obviously every relationship is going to be different, but within certain types of relationships, some people would be, I need money for household expenses or something like that, and then all of a sudden, then all of your money has gone. The other person that's in control has complete control of your finances, and which then means that you don't have access to be able to go out, to be able to meet friends, have coffee, whatever, because you can't afford it.
Yeah, I know. I think I know why women don't walk away from abusive relationships, because in some senses they feel vulnerable to revenge attacks, vulnerable to going out into a world and leaving the security of a home. But maybe I'm stereotypical here, but in my mind's eye, the man doesn't have that kind of fear. Why does he not walk away from it?
But in a lot of relationships, he does have that kind of fear. For example, if there is children involved in the relationship, sometimes the man will stay until the children are 18, so that he is the one that gets the abuse and not the children. So he stays for the protection of his children. He could stay to make sure that he has access to his children so that he can still see them. So it can be a very difficult and complex area. And every relationship is different.
It's a quagmire of emotional entanglement, really.
Oh, completely, yeah. Yeah, it really is.
Your organisation counsels men.
Yes.
Do you counsel them?
I don't personally counsel them. My role is to coordinate the project and help raise the profile of the project, and also to help and make sure that the counsellors that are involved in the organisation have access to all the information that they need, and training and opportunities and things like that.
I know typical is not a word one can easily use in relation to this kind of problem, but from your knowledge of the counselling sessions that occur, what might a typical example be of abuse? What kind of story is brought to the table of your organization?
Well, it really does depend. Every relationship is different. It could go from just psychological abuse, just constantly being put down, constantly having to deal with their issues, to deal with abuse in that sense. It could also be physical abuse where someone has had a bottle smashed over their head or been punched, hit, beaten. I know certainly we had done research a couple of years ago, and one of the men that took part in the research had said that one of the memories that he has is of his wife beating him and him lying on the kitchen floor and actually blacking out, and then coming around, and his wife was standing over him, talking to his children in front of him and saying, "Look, this is your father. This is how degrading he is." And it can be very, very difficult and harrowing to listen to.
Absolutely.
And that's what our volunteer counsellors do.
And they are volunteers.
They are volunteers, yeah. Yeah, we have no full-time.
But volunteering
staff or
doesn't
part-time.
imply lack of professionalism.
Oh no, definitely not. All of our counsellors are all fully qualified, and we follow the BACP guidelines, which is the British Association of Counselling Practitioners. We follow their guidelines. We also have insurance and things like that around counsellors, and we're restricted in the number of counsellors that we can actually have because of the insurance as well. So. Yeah, we're fully above board and make sure that
it's important to say that, because sometimes people equate volunteering with amateurism, but it's not that.
No, all of our counsellors are all fully professional.
Excellent. Is this something that the police take seriously?
It is something that the police take seriously, but as with anything, there is improvements that can be made. And the report that was out the other day from the Criminal Justice Inspection, they had conducted a report a couple of years ago, and the report that was mentioned this week in the news was actually just a refreshing around the recommendations from that original report, just to see how much progress had actually been made. And what they were saying was that they were disappointed in a lot of aspects of what was actually happening in terms of the recommendations.
But you are the sharp end of the effort against it in Northern Ireland. There is no one else. You are the organisation that does it.
Well, there are other organisations there as well, but certainly we've been around a long time, and we do provide counselling to individuals. We are unique in that sense.
Do you have meetings with the police?
Oh,
Do
yes.
they come to you?
Yes, we have regular meetings with police services and health services, and I'll be actually taking up post with the Men's Advisory Project next week, and hopefully from then on, we'll be able to engage a bit more, and hopefully get some of these recommendations implemented and sorted out.
What about preventative measures rather than waiting till the offence occurs? Is there any kind of psychological profile on the woman who is likely to do this, and can something be done about that? No,
there wouldn't be anything like that at all. But actually, it just comes down to individual relationships. Every individual is different, as you're different than me.
Yeah.
So, just how we would react to certain situations would be different. So there isn't. It would be good if there was, but it's just not possible. It's just such a complex area.
Is there any recovery from it? If a man has been abused, it hurts him physically, it hurts him emotionally because of the breach between the two in the relationship. It hurts his self-esteem to be beaten up by a woman. It doesn't happen to the caveman. And how does a man recover from it?
I think it takes a long time, as with any abuse of bullying or harassment or whatever. It does take time to recover, but what I would say is that it is possible, not necessarily to recover and forget, but actually to recover and have dealt with it, and to have boxed something off and say, that's in the past, but learn from that experience.
That's an interesting analogy to use of words, to box the thing off. That could apply in many areas of life, that in order to go forward you need to put something in a box that's marked the past and go on from it. Difficult but necessary.
Yeah, Yeah, I think that's right. Generally, you know, if you put something in a box, it's not that you've put it away and it's hidden and it's forgotten about. It actually is there. You can see the label that's on the box. You know what it is, but everything, all the emotions and everything else that go with whatever the experience was that's in the box stays in the box. And it's about moving that on, kind of saying that's in the past, you know, and any future relationship that you ever enter into is never going to be the same, hopefully, because you have learned from that experience.
Suppose there would be, maybe the box helps, but if a future relationship comes onto the scene, how does a man say to his new woman, I have been beaten up by my wife? He'd be frightened of doing that.
I'm not sure if it would be frightened, but again, you know, it would depend on the individual and how comfortable they were with their new partner, whatever was happening, you know, and you know, certainly I don't think that there's any weakness in sharing that kind of information. I think it's actually it shows a strength in the person and the individual involved.
James, what about funding? How are you funded?
We get some funding from the Health and Social Services Board. The post that I will be taking up is actually funded through a charitable organisation that provides funding to charities. So it is a mixture, but we are limited in our funds, and I would hope to grow that over the next period.
Is there anything I haven't touched on that I maybe should have touched on?
I think it would just be, you know, if anyone needs help or whatever, that don't be thinking that you don't have it. There is organisations out there that can help. You can go to the police if you never find that you're going through having these experiences, and you're never alone because your partner is always there. Talk to your doctor. Talk to people who are professional that you would see on your own, and have it recorded. If you're injured, make sure that you seek medical advice. But certainly there is help there.
Okay, we wish you well in what you're doing. It's a mighty task you're embarked upon, and it's a hidden crime within our community, really.
Oh, it is. It is a hidden crime. A lot of people just don't realise that it goes on, because it goes on behind closed doors. But thank you very much for the opportunity to come and talk to you.
Please, how do people contact? What's your email or your website?
The website is MAPNI.
MAPNI.
.co.uk.
That's as simple as it gets. Mike Alpha Papa.
November.
India. Oh yes, I was forgetting the NI. So it's MAP. ni.co.uk, and call anytime.
Yes.
Listen, the studio is here for you. You're welcome anytime. If we can be of any assistance, just lift the phone and you're here.
Sure.
Your place is booked on the sofa.
Sure. Thank you very much.
God bless you. Go well. Take care.
Thank you.